7.8% GDP growth of the economy for the first quarter inspired us as people to be better committed in building our nation. We are fortunate that President Aquino's leadership has worked great wonders in uniting us for one common goal, to be the best, and we did. We are #1 in Asia. It's a source of national pride. So joining us tonight on NewsLife is former Finance Secretary Roberto De Ocampo. Good evening, sir. Welcome to NewsLife. Sir Ocampo?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Paul. Sir, to start us off, 7.8% GDP growth for the Philippines has never been achieved before. This is a first. What factors led to this growth?
Well, for a long time, the Philippines has always been thought to be a country with much potential in the region because we have an educated, competitive labor force. We speak English, and of course, our geographic position is quite strategic. Now, in the past, this was all weighed down, but there was too much corruption, and I think that the Aquino administration has been able to convince not only the Filipino people, but the investing community abroad, that that particular defect in our economic history is now under much better control. Now, beyond that, you have a lot of countries in Asia, such as Japan and Korea, that are turning to the Philippines as an investment destination. So quite a bit of manufacturing is coming to the Philippines, and probably the sector that can provide plenty of jobs for our people would be manufacturing. Beyond that, the government itself has been, you might say, spending for infrastructure, and therefore that creates a better environment for investors and provides jobs for the people as well.
Sir, this growth, is it sustainable? How will this translate in terms of, in favor of, rather, the goal of the government of inclusive growth to benefit the poor?
Yes, what makes it looking more sustainable this time is the growth of the manufacturing sector. You see, for a long time, our economy is built upon two things. One is remittances from OFWs, and the other is the service sector. But now that you're getting manufacturing investors to come to the Philippines, this creates jobs, and investors that put in manufacturing facilities, put up factories, don't suddenly disappear and pack up their factories, and therefore you've got a much longer term investment in place, which will produce jobs and which will be one major factor for continuing economic growth. I think the second is that by comparison, our competitive position with respect to other countries in the region is beginning to improve. Our main competitor, for example, in the BPO service industry is India. But right now, India's economy is having some problems, and therefore the Philippines is edging upwards competitively in that sector compared to them. The same goes for other countries that I will not mention, but right now we do have the enviable position of looking like the most viable and attractive investment destination in this part of the world.
So, if the growth is sustained until 2016, will the government reduce poverty incidence to 16% by 2016, do you think?
Well, if we continue to bring in manufacturing, if we diversify the economy by also having growth in sectors like agriculture, if we are able to transform the growth in agriculture towards agro-industry, and if our tourism, which is now growing at a healthy rate, becomes a major pillar in our economy, then I would think that this growth experience we are having is going to continue beyond 2016.
Sir, in moving on, are there any risks which the country faces which could affect the sustainability of our growth, risks which are external, for instance, the debt crisis in Europe?
Well, the main risk that we have been facing over the past recent weeks is the possible, what you might call currency wars that could lead to the undue strengthening of the peso. But right now, it seems like that is presently under check, and the peso valuation for the rest of the year looks like it should not go too far between a strong one of about 40 and a regular one of about 42. If it goes stronger than that, then we will have to be much more prepared to diversify the economy, because that is going to affect mainly remittances and the BPO service industry. I think that with manufacturing coming in, with tourism and agriculture showing some strength, and with our push towards more infrastructure, the grounds for diversifying the economy and making it less prone to having, you might say, weakening due to external factors to be stronger.
So you mentioned earlier red tape. With these two credit upgrades, how will they translate to more foreign investments, knowing that our concerns that red tape continues to be a problem in doing business in the Philippines?
Well, we do have a National Competitiveness Council, and at least now we have a dedicated group, and they're quite good, looking at the various processes that are slowing down the attractiveness of the Philippines. So I am aware of the fact that the National Competitiveness Council takes a look at processing time, the number of signatures required, the bureaucracy involved in the Philippines to set up a business as compared to those in other countries. Now, they're moving as quickly as they can to correct these, because as you know, over the next couple of years, we're going to be hosting the World Economic Forum. We will be the center for APEC, etc., and we have to put our best face and foot forward. And one of the ways to do this is to at least show the world via these types of international meetings that are going to take place, that we are taking the necessary corrective action to be on the same competitive footing. At the same time, I think the government realizes that ASEAN is just around the corner. That's going to be in a few years, 2016. So we have to be prepared. And part of being prepared to be competitive in that regard is to make sure that our processes are streamlined and far less bureaucratic and, you might say, prone to corruption than they used to be.
So do you think these elements are what will keep the confidence towards the government and credibility of our private sector in encouraging foreign people to invest in the Philippines? Can these factors that you just lastly mentioned, will these help sustain our credibility until 2016?
Yes, I have to say that you have to be careful not to think that improvements can happen overnight. These things have to be taken step by step, and the people themselves, we citizens, have to be watchful to make sure that we do our part to help processes to be able to partner with government to curb such smuggling, tax evasion, and still pockets of corruption here and there. In other words, the government has high credibility with respect to trying to improve overall governance. But the government can't do it by itself. We have to also do our part by the private sector exercising good governance and by being watchdogs, as it were, in the government's own fight to make sure that good governance, however gradually, begins to take root and becomes institutionalized.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you very much, sir. Former Finance Secretary Roberto De Ocampo, also Vice Chairman of the Makati Business Club. Thank you very much.